57 meeting, just to take care of the clerk.
Okay, so now how do I do that?
Especially by yourself, yeah.
So I did what I did. I'd be like, well, I gotta go. Lincoln is really outdated. 13 years. 13 years ago. I think it was 13. That's a great question. But they really haven't put much into it. So they kind of
we have rent-free space and everything, and we're part of it. We have to follow always, the way this is always.
How are you? Good. That's good. I just want to make this. So I did. What I should have done was just reach out to you first and say, hey, that would be great. But again, I didn't know what you were covering, so I just let him. Because I was at the morning session. I'm off this week,
Yeah, come on in.
Did you get the toy thing that I gave?
Yeah.
We talked about it so long.
We did. And
You can get those, it's called a Code of Conduct by Fisher Price. You can get them if you want. So those little discs are like, one is the start point, one is the end, and then they put it.
Hi, ladies. Library, right?
Each
I'm
one's got a
Jody.
layer over there.
Superintendent Nicole. Esley, that's a good name.
Oh, stuff that.
Yes, all right.
Collecting
Thanks
dust
so
and
much
all
for
that
coming.
stuff.
We'll do a couple opening games, and then we'll, Christy's gonna. I'm Christy, your recognition. Hi, Steph. Esley. Nicole, very good, very good.
Okay. I hereby call the regular Board of Education meeting this August 13th, 2024 to order at 7 o'clock p.m. Please silence or turn off all electronic devices. And could you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? There's a flag in the back of the room. Okay, Mrs. Johnson, could you please call roll?
Yes. Bianchini.
Here.
Camardo is absent. Friedland.
Here, but virtually.
Okay. Grimpy.
Here.
I am here. Pfisterer.
Here.
Ronstadt.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next up is the consent agenda. Looking over the consent agenda, are there any items that a member would like to remove and further discuss, or is there any question of clarification? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda in its entirety as presented, which includes the following: Board of Education meeting minutes from July 9th, 2024, the personnel report, actual payrolls, bills, and checks, and the curriculum instruction materials.
Moved.
Second.
All right, motion by Pfister, second by Ronstadt. Could you please call roll?
Bianchini.
Yes.
Friedland.
Yes.
Grimpy.
Yes.
I vote yes. Pfisterer.
Yes.
And Ronstadt.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next up is board communications. This is an open agenda for any board member who'd like to share any communications that they've experienced in the last month. Anyone like to share anything? Go ahead, please. Probably. It's fine.
Yesterday morning, President Grimpy and I had the privilege of welcoming all of our new staff and teachers at orientation. So thank you for the invite. And we got to stay for the first presentation, which is always great to hear our core values and our strategies. And it starts at that top. And I could feel them getting excited as they're sitting there. So I hope that came through. So thanks for letting us join.
Yeah, and I'd like to just echo on that sentiment. One of the things that I noticed and heard many, many times was Jody and her staff, Dr. Megerly and her staff, referred to us as a family and welcomed everyone to the family. And I just thought that was a wonderful sentiment. They represented our district very, very well. I was very proud to be there. I think there was only one teacher that I thought was very, very nervous. I thought these kids are going to eat you up, but I'm sure she'll do well. I'm sure it was just early morning jitters, but it was a great event. Thanks, Becky, for bringing that up. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share? Okay. Next up is our recognition for our community partners, and this is going to be with Christy and Carrie, please.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. In a few minutes, you're going to hear more from us on summer school. But right now, just for our recognition portion of the board meeting, we'd like to take a moment to pause and recognize our amazing community partners who really work to enhance and enrich the programming that we have throughout the summer. So in front of you this evening, I'm going to present 3 community partners. Unfortunately, only one was able to be with us for formal recognition this evening, but we want you to know everybody who played a part in our wonderful summer program. So first and foremost, Patty, if you could go to slide 2 for me. Oh, I do have the clicker. I forgot. All right. First and foremost, our wonderful Mount Prospect Library. And in just a minute, you're going to have an opportunity to meet these wonderful people. Steph and, I'm sorry, I can't see so well, and Esley and Nicole. They visited us multiple times over the summer to come read to our children. If you saw any of the videos that Stephanie put out on social media over the summer, and one that you'll see later today, you'll see the excitement in the kids when they came to the rooms. They also brought them books to bring home and to continue reading throughout the summer. They came back on multiple occurrences, so we did not scare them away. And they always welcome us with open arms. This is one small piece of what the library does for us throughout the school year, visiting us, inviting our students over to their campus, issuing library cards, just making sure that our students always have access to not only print media, but also digital media and many of the great resources that they have available to us. We'll bring them up to formally meet you in just a minute. Our second community partner is the fire department, and the fire department always brings the fanfare when they come, in addition to many of their very cool trucks. So the students have an opportunity with the fire department to try on the gear, to test smoke detectors, but most importantly to learn what to do in case of a crisis, what to do if you hear a fire alarm going off, and because we are so close to 4th of July, what to do and how to be safe around fireworks and things that happen throughout the summer months to make sure that none of those unnecessary injuries take place. And then last but not least, one of the probably most unique and fun experiences for the students is that of the River Trails Nature Center. Last year, they were unable to join us on site due to staffing changes and shortages in funding. So we were so thrilled to have them be able to come back this year and just share all the wonderful, different animal skins and skeletons and animals with the students so that they could really experience nature up close and personal. Of course, this is a wonderful addition to a wonderful part of our community that is so close to our boundaries. We're great that the kids get a little taste that maybe they can arm pull mom and dad to take them over there in their free time. So we could not do the great work that we do in the summer without our wonderful community partners. And we'd like to pause for a second for them to come up, be introduced, and also meet President Grimpy, the board, and Dr. Megerle. So please come join us.
Okay, next up is RTEA comments. Mr. Kastner, you have the floor.
Thank you, President Grimpy. Good evening. On behalf of the RTA Executive Committee and the entire membership, I'd like to thank the Board of Education and the administration for the wonderful ongoing working relationship that we continue to have. And this is not just lip service. I know I say it often, but the reason I say it is to make sure that you know that we still are on great terms. As Mrs. Johnson can tell you, the union and board or union and administration have not always been on great terms historically. So it is something that I know I personally cherish, and as does the union. So much so that our Region UNISERV Director, Brian Rouse, and myself are presenting at a conference this fall on board member elections, negotiation, and engagement. And so what we'll be doing is talking, doing PD with many people and talking about what it's like to be on good terms, something that's very rare and very heavily cherished. So please do know that we take this very seriously, and it means a lot to us to do this. It's a lot of work, but it's good work, and it's important that we move towards this and that people realize that you want things to be win-win. You don't want it to be zero-sum where it's win-lose. In the words of past IEA and NEA President Reg Weaver, we all do better when we all do better. Thank you.
Great sentiment. Thank you. All right, next up is visitors' comments. At this time, I'd like to recognize any members of the audience to approach the board with their comment or question by completing a visitor comment card. Please do note that the board and administration typically does not respond, and if you wish for a response, please provide your name and number or email for a member of the board or administration to get back to you. Speakers are encouraged to limit their time for others to participate. A 3-minute time limit per speaker with an overall 60-minute maximum for visitors' comments per our policy 2 subset 230. All right, hearing none, we'll move on to new business. It's the Christy Carey Show again. Awesome.
Yes, thank you. I've been out of practice a little bit. We're excited to tell you about our summer programming and all the wonderful things that we did this summer. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to share this with you. Our summer programming ran from June 10th to June 28th. We ran from 8:30 to 12 o'clock at Prairie Trails School, same as last year. This year we had 115 students, which was down a bit from last year at 135. And our attendance was about an 84% attendance rate, which was pretty good. Our focus areas were special education, language development, and foundational skills. And we had a staff made up of 4 office staff, 14 certified staff, and 6 support staff. Here's a list of the staff, and we were led by Zach Scipione, same as last year. Very lucky to have him. So just a little bit about our programming and what it looked like this year. We ran 2 programs at the same time. So we had the Summer University, which was made up mainly of students within intervention services or ML students, which really was focused on language development and literacy. So they worked very hard on intensive phonics, reading and writing workshops, and daily opportunities for writing. Additionally, they had time for math foundational skills practice, SEL social emotional time for all, and fine motor and gross motor times to get them to run around and have some fun too. Our extended school year was made up of students with IEPs or disabilities that were recommended by their teachers based on progress towards their goals and the need to continue over the summer for a little bit for maintenance of that goal work. They worked on their IEP goals, reading and math for all students. They also had push-in time for social emotional time and speech language in addition to occupational therapy. So all the services came into the classroom, worked with small groups, and they had daily fine and gross motor time as well. You want to run the video?
I don't know if it autoplays or not.
Patty, do we run the video? Oh.
Sound's not working.
See some of the fun opportunities the kids had. They were not really this quiet.
They did, yeah. Yeah, so that's just a short little video, and thank you, Stephanie, for creating that for us. We'll make sure to send it in Jody's Friday update, so if you didn't hear the audio behind it when it came home in your board book, you can see just the excitement in the kids' voices, the great energy that our community partners brought, and just the overall success of the program. But it is hard to measure, so I'm going to briefly go into some of the data. Oh, now it's going to start for us. Some of the data that we collect, and we did this in 2 different ways. We kind of presented it here by showing you with highlights what some of our trends looked like, and then on the following slide, we did it in more of a table format just to summarize. We seek feedback from our parent population in order to understand how well this program meets their student needs. You can see we had about a 23% return rate, which overall is not awful in terms of gathering some feedback, but it should be taken into consideration when looking at the trends and data. In terms of length of school day, really the majority of our parents, 85%, thought that the length of the day was perfect. A few of them thought that it was too short, but this was increasing and positive trending from 22-23. Our session, again, approximately 70% thought it was right in terms of the 3-week duration. About 30% said you can keep them a little longer if you'd like. So would like us to consider potentially adding to that window. Most prefer June, and that continues to be a trend that we've seen over the coming years. This was especially higher this year. And we were excited to see that 13% more parents this year felt like their students made a lot of progress. It's important to note that the philosophy of our summer school is not really to close gaps. It's more so to maintain skills over those summer months, and that's something important to consider. We would need a lot more time, a lot more hours with student, a lot more intensity if we were really working to close gaps. We're really looking to maintain so that our students can pick up in August where they left off at the end of the school year rather than regress like a typical student would over the summer months. 77% of our parents thought it was a beneficial use of time, or very beneficial use of time, which again was an increase. So we were very excited to see positive increases in all areas of our parent survey across the board, and that we are continuing to trend in a positive direction. We did have some narrative comments on our survey as well, and I thought it was important, Carrie, and I thought it was important to note that our students feel happy going to school. Our parents report that our kids are happy to go, which is saying something when it's a summer program, and many friends and even some siblings are staying home and they're heading off to school. The bus continues to be helpful and continues to be very well used. In the last couple of years, we've had 2 bus routes that are very much appreciated by our parent community. We do have the extended day camp that is run by the River Trails Park District. Parents do appreciate that camp, especially for working parents who can extend that day till 3 o'clock. Just gives them a little bit longer window during those 3 weeks of summer school, and it continues to be a popular option. Oops, did I jump ahead? All right. And there's the graphic kind of representation there. You'll notice that we continue to trend up, as I said, in all of these areas. And we did see a significant increase in our parent responses on our 3-week term versus what we saw last year. So those are our parent surveys.
Did anything change in the program length between last year and this year, or is just
No,
the survey
2
results
years
are
ago.
better?
Survey results are better.
Okay.
Yes, and last year's dip could have been due to the fact that we went from 4 weeks to 3 weeks. Last year was the year that we chose to do that, but then we went to the longer weeks with 5-day weeks versus 4-day weeks, and we're continuing to monitor that attendance trend to see if the Fridays help our attendance, hurt our attendance, and what that looks like. And really right now we're staying pretty consistent. As Carrie noted, we were up about 1% this year in terms of attendance rate. We do notice our attendance rates drop significantly the longer the term goes on. So week 3 had a much lower attendance rate than week 1. If we went into that 4th week, closer to 4th of July, I can pretty much imagine that our rates would continue to drop off. Moving on to our teacher survey, as Carrie noted, we had approximately 24 staff members. I don't remember the exact number of respondents we had on our teacher survey, but wanted to share the data with you here. We had 92% of our teachers saying the length of the student day was perfect. The 3 weeks, we had about 80% saying it's perfect. We had about 20% saying it's getting a little long. They just coming off a school year, and you know it is getting a little long, but recognizing that it's an appropriate amount of length of time, excuse me. Most of our staff said, yes, the June dates are appropriate. They seemed the kids kind of pick up where they left off. Some noted that July would be nice, or that June or July would be nice, but recognize that we do have some limitations in terms of staffing and being able to get staff at different times throughout the year. In terms of impact on student learning, 61% combined thought it was very high or high. 39% felt like the kids had a moderate impact on student learning. Our staff reported that they were happy to teach summer school, which is what we always like to hear, especially since they work so very hard throughout the year. To continue that year and have a positive attitude is just fantastic. Everyone loves Zach and is so thankful to have Zach at summer school. We're thankful to have Zach at summer school. It allows us some flexibility as well throughout the summer. We're looking for some potentially new materials to support our reading instruction over summer school, so we'll do some studying of that this year and see if we need to make some adaptations there. The real reason behind that is most of our materials look a lot at comprehension, and the teachers are really feeling that a lot of the students that we're seeing in summer school really need more work on phonics and foundational skills and fluency. So we need to ramp up that side of our curriculum a little bit more. And they would like some better articulation going into summer school with the classroom teachers so that they really know that they can pick up where the teachers left off. So we'll work on those communication patterns. Maybe I might actually be frozen now. There we go. There it is in a graphic form, pretty much the same information that I'd shared narratively. Again, that dip in time frame was looking at some staff members wondering if a later summer school with our later start to the school year might be something that we want to consider in the future. So where does this leave us? We will very soon begin to collect data, our fall data, and that's pretty much where we start preparing for summer school for next year. We start looking at that data, reviewing our students that participated in summer school this year, see how they started off the year, see if summer school did in fact, make a difference in where they started their year. By December, we're starting to look for interested staff members to staff our summer programs for summer 25, and we begin to audit our materials in order to make decisions on materials in an appropriate time. By January, we really start the identification process for students. My process can start a little bit earlier than Carrie's, as hers need to follow special ed timelines, annual review timelines, but we'll begin to start looking at our Tier 2, Tier 3 students already in January, with the hope to know who our student roster, what our student roster is looking like by February, so that we can put offers off to staff members by March and get invitations out to families so that they can appropriately plan. We really need to work in partnership and in alignment with the Park District, because our parents are paying for summer programming through the Park District, and that changes if their students are participating in our summer school programming. So we really want to best support our parents in helping them know what's coming early enough so that they can plan appropriately. Any questions that you might have for us?
I would just be curious as to, for next year,
Mm-hmm.
how much does this all cost? I'm sorry.
Sure.
I'd be curious for next year if we could have a
Cost breakdown.
cost, how much does this all cost? What's your budget? Include the buses and the teachers
Sure.
and,
We have all that broken down for you. Actually, from this year, I'm happy to share that out. If you guys are okay, I can either share it next month or we can share it in a Friday update. We do have all that, taking into account grants and also taking into account tuition from like Camp Raven and our middle school programming that we do charge tuition for.
oh, that would be great, yes. If that's okay with okay, I'd like to see it in the
You bet.
update then. And then I would just like to comment on Brian from River Trails. The man is phenomenal.
He is.
He's been around since my kids were little, and he's taught them a lot of things when we go to the nature center. And one of the things that I didn't see in the presentation was the school was in session during the height of the cicadas. And so
Yes,
I
we
didn't
were.
see any kids running around with their motor skills.
Picking up the shells.
Yes, right, yes. So I found that interesting. So was there a lot of cicadas when they were outside?
Oh,
First week in particular, I think was really
deafening. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely deafening.
Okay, so they were able to experience it and
Yes.
have people explain to them, you don't have to be afraid.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. You definitely experienced it by our office, right, Stephanie? Sure. Any other questions?
Yeah, I first of all, I want to thank all the staff and for everybody who worked so hard to put this on. You said one thing that really caught my attention was that the kind of the objective with summer school is to help maintain the kids. And, I know that we're required to offer summer school to those kids with IEPs. And then so with that one information, with the piece that we're, maintaining versus helping maybe to remediate or to help maybe get them ahead a little bit, there's another stat that came back from the teachers, which was impact on student learning, and only 7% of the staff picked very high, 54 said high, and 39 said moderate. And then I was thinking about all that, and I was looking at the pictures, and I mean, there's some awesome things that go on, right? There's reading, there's the fire truck, there's the nature piece, but and obviously the pictures of a kid sitting learning, getting one-on-one help with reading or some hard skill that they're catching up on is a little harder. But I guess the question back is, and maybe this is a question that we can all ask ourselves, but what can we do to make this program better, to help push it along so that maybe we go from, with a goal of maintaining to, either targeted, kind of bringing them up to help these kids, get caught up further.
I hear you. And I think part of what we're working toward is experiences. So many times, learning is more than decoding, and learning is more than phonics. And in order to build vocabulary and in order to really help increase comprehension, we need to have experiences. Bringing in people from the library to read different genres of books, bringing in our nature center to expose our students to things they may or may not have been exposed to. That's all learning experiences for them. Our goal is also to keep them very engaged in summer school. We also know that the students in the absence of this learning would rapidly decline over summer because they've been receiving intensive support throughout the school year. So you can look at that as growth because they are maintaining that same level they're leaving us with at the end of the year, where in the absence of that, they would fall behind significantly in terms of those foundational skills. So I guess it really looks at the way that you're looking at that measure. But to us, it's important to maintain our head ready, heart ready vision throughout everything we do, including summer school, making our kids want to be there. We want to see those statistics from parents that kids want to be at school and that they want to come to summer school. If we really wanted to look at how we were going to significantly close learning gaps, we would really need to look at the ratio, student to teacher ratio in the classroom, aid ratio, significance of curriculum and the types of curriculum that we're using, and the cost that we would expend. When you look at research regarding summer school, there's very little research to show that students make significant gains over those summer months without significant expenditures. So it's just something that as a community, as a board, as a teaching staff, we would really need to come together and to commit to in terms of that philosophy shift.
Well,
definitely something we can explore.
Right. In a general sense, I'd be interested in, obviously, if it's, triple the cost and, a minute increase, then there's something there. But I just want to keep the eye on the purpose of it is to, help these kids to, as you said, to maintain or to excel in their educational growth. And, it seems like we're kind of on a path right now. We think we're on a good path, but want to continue to encourage the administration. I hope the whole board can get on board with just, keep pushing it forward, keep finding ways to, drive more progress for the kids.
So I'll jump in. This, I've mentioned before, this is my favorite presentation every year. The program itself has grown by leaps and bounds, not to use a Donna phrase, but yes, by the time that I've been on the board to now, the program is really grown phenomenally, and I'm very proud of it every year when we see this presentation. I was going to ask about the survey results and if you think we should change the schedule, but you already answered it by the drop-off of attendance is really...
Yeah.
There's not going to be a lot of return on that investment. So so thank you for adding those little tidbits that I didn't have to ask. So.
Yeah, we typically try to also stick within fiscal year because of grant funding. We use grant funding to fund summer school. So we can utilize those grant funds more easily if we kind of isolate on one side or the other of that July 1st date. And then we are exploring some different options as well through Alicia's department to potentially offer some small mini camps, 1-week camps next summer open to all students that would be able to also be part of that early part of June. So it's still in the works. We haven't brought any information to the board yet on that, but we've got some other things that we're working on as well.
I mean, while I don't disagree with Robert at all, but the bar has been set really high and you guys meet it or achieve it every year. So just great job.
Thanks.
Just great job. Anybody else? Okay, moving on. We are up to new business and business services. You're up, Mr. Ryan.
All right, so just a quick construction update this evening. We'll start at Indian Grove. The roof has reached substantial completion as of last week, which is great news. They are still working on the siding, but hope to be done this week. We did get it much earlier than we did last year, so hopefully students won't be hearing sheet metal pounding on the side of the building this year. The majority of the fence is coming down, and schedule paint and possible brick patching if they have time and are able to match the brick this summer before students start is going to take place as well. Moving on to Euclid, we continue to move forward from what some board members saw 5 days ago to where they're at today. There has been an astonishing shift already between paint, flooring, bathrooms. Just moving on to paint, the hallways are painted. There's the blue wing, the orange or gold wing, and then the green wing. You'll see further progress even moving down. All the flooring in all of the classrooms has been completed. They're still working on some of the hallways and the LRC, but as you can see, kind of the progression here from left to right of where the flooring started to in the middle just a few weeks ago to now all the way, the picture on the left, the carpeting and the flooring in the classroom really makes a big difference. Continuing into the bathrooms, when I first started about a month and a half ago, there weren't any bathroom walls. So as you can see, the picture on the left, they were digging trenches for some of the plumbing fixtures and things like that, but there's no wall. Then you can see the middle pictures, kind of some of the walls going up. And then now progress all the way on the right again. They're closed off. They look like real bathrooms again and real custodial closets. The inside of the bathrooms also looked a little sketchy when I started about a month ago. But as you can see, it's kind of hard to tell because the lighting fixtures haven't been put in the bathrooms yet. But new walls, new paint, and then new epoxy flooring, they're finishing this week as well as we progress and get closer to the start of school. Furniture was delivered. The first set of furniture was delivered on the 29th. The second set of furniture was delivered last Thursday. We have one more shipment coming in at the beginning of next week, which is mostly just the LRC materials. But furniture has been delivered, put together, and put into the following classrooms. Lockers started to go in this week, which really brings the hallway all together. You can see here in the gold wing, the blue lockers really put kind of that finishing touch on it. The floor is covered here. It is down in the hallway, but it's being protected while they put in the big metal lockers. We don't want those on the brand new floor just quite yet. Ceiling grid and tiles, as you can see, also the entire ceiling was ripped out. So when you get that finished product look in the bottom right, it really makes it look finished and brand new, like it is. New asphalt and concrete have been poured. They're redoing part of the back driveway, some new asphalt back there, but also new sidewalk and patching along the east and south part of the building. Really also makes it come together smooth, ADA accessible sidewalks along the entire school building. Lastly, the technology was also delivered. You can see they brought, I forget how many pallets, but pallets and pallets. It looks like Sam's Club or Costco for a while. But then now they're also all protected. Almost, I think all of them almost are finished being hung and mounted on the walls. And then they're also being protected afterwards so that no dust or any other construction mishaps happen while they're there. And that is the construction update. Any questions? We are still due and on schedule for substantial completion, hopefully by the end of the weekend. And no questions about starting school on the 26th. So.
Can we get you to swear on that yet?
What are you gonna do?
Well, that's my next question. So there's no reason to think of a plan B or meet about a plan B or?
Not
Okay.
at this time, no.
That's exactly what I want to hear. Yeah, absolutely.
Could you do Indian Grove a week faster next year?
Let's work on that, right?
I don't think so.
It's okay. It's okay.
I saw them leaving at 8 p.m. on last Sunday night, so we meet every day.
Great. This is exactly what we're hoping to hear. So thank you very much. Next up, our committee reports. Policy Committee, Mrs. Friedland, you are our chair. Are you still going to lead this part, or do you want to pitch it to somebody else? Okay, great.
Yeah, because you know what, we met tonight and, it was also a very brief meeting, but that's because most of the updates, so for packet 115, because we reviewed both 115 and press packet 116. For 115, most of the updates were to the footnotes, or they were as a result of like the 5-year review. So there weren't a ton of changes, and we didn't. There weren't any that made any huge impacts. So those were very, very simple to get through. And then for packet 116, the changes that were made in that packet, also to footnotes, and some of the language, were a result of the Title IX updates that had been made in packet 114. So not all of the legislative pieces and components had been finalized by the time that we went through the packet 114. Some of those pieces were still rolling out, and some of the language was still being clarified, I guess, by either legal or IASB. So those were just the outcomes of that Title IX change to the harassment policy. So we recommended for the policy packets 115 and 116 for first reading, and then we'll bring them to the October board meeting for approval.
Great. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Mrs. Friedland? All right.
I do suggest that everybody go out and read that update to the title if people haven't done so already. But if people would definitely go out and read some of the updates to that Title IX, because it is pretty expansive. It was completely rewritten. For the most part, there were a lot of changes. And I would just highly suggest that the board be familiar with that.
So I'm asking Jody to put a link to them in one of her updates so we can all obviously.
Oh, okay.
quick,
Otherwise,
easy-
it's listed like in the policy packet that we have access to. But yeah, a link is much easier for everybody who's got their busy schedules.
It is in the board. Oh, yeah, it's for the policy committee meeting. Of course it is.
Right. Yeah.
All right, never mind.
Oh,
In the board
okay.
book.
Okay, but that was everything. So these were, for once, a simple policy update.
Very good. All right, next up is NSSCO update. Mr. Ronstadt, you are our representative.
So we had our meeting last week. It was good. Got things off to a good start. We do have some issues with some construction projects. Unfortunately, there was some issues with getting windows and at Minor, and met with the new superintendent from District 25. That's relevant because they own Minor, and we are and tenants of the Minor school. He was very apologetic. They're working through getting the windows replaced, and actually I got a note this morning that the windows were going in, which is good because the open house was tonight. So school starts next week, so we're hopeful that there won't be boards on the windows when the kids start. Full swing on the strategic plan. I know that we're reaching out to the superintendents, the superintendents of special ed to schedule strategic planning sessions, and really hoping to get as much input from our member districts as possible so that we can really strategically and in lockstep with our member districts, provide the services that are most needed for our member districts. Outside of that, staffing is good at all the schools, with full staffing being reported at Minor and Timber Ridge, but there are issues with getting ESPs at Kirk, which is the high school and transition program. They're down quite a few people right now, and it's becoming a concern. So it's in the neighborhood of 25 open positions. So the contract, there's lots of reasons for that. I mean, the ESP positions are, obviously the older kids are going to be tougher or harder, and it's certainly good to have full staffing at the other schools, but there's definitely concern about Kirk at this point. But otherwise, going well.
Great, thank you.
Don't forget to buy your NSSEO swag, too. That went onto the website. That was offered as well, and we just got the emails for that.
Yeah, please do. Thank you.
Very cool. All right, next up is the President's Report. I got a number of things here. August 26th is our first day of school for grades 1st through 8th. August 27th is our first day of school for our kindergartners. And August 28th is our first day of school for our pre-K chipmunks. We have a Board Operations Committee meeting on April 27th at the Admin Center at Prairie Trails. On August 30th is the Indian Grove Back to School Bash at 6 p.m. September 5th is the Euclid ribbon cutting ceremony at Euclid at 5 p.m. September 6th is the Prairie Trail School Welcome Back Bash. And then we have our next board meeting on September 10th here at the middle school. Let's see. We did release our Board of Education Community Engagement Google spreadsheet for events that we could all sign up for. Just one note, I noticed there were some events that didn't have a school listed, so I added on the right, like which school. So you might see some notes. Sorry to spring that on you. If you haven't, please sign up with your one-on-one meeting with Dr. Megerly. That's one of her goals and in her review. We also have the North Cook dinner meeting on September 30th. Please let Patty know if you would like to attend. And I was also just given a packet from IASB that they are looking for a school district that each school district appoint a governing board representative. This board member would report to his or her board about upcoming IASB news as well as key dates for divisional meetings and conferences and stuff. If anyone is interested in that, doesn't seem like there's too much involved in it, but if anyone is interested in being our governing board representative, please let me know so that I could let Alva Kreitzer know. She is our representative for the North Cook, our director for North Cook. So if you could let me know, I'd appreciate it. And I think that's everything. That's it. Next up is the superintendent's report. Dr. Megerly, you have the floor.
Thank you. Okay, I'm excited to share some back-to-school information this month. As you heard, school starts on the 26th, so we are working on preparing. So obviously, first of all, we welcomed our new staff, and there they are with Mr. Grimpy and Ms. Pfisterer and myself. Great group of new staff we had, good conversations at the tables. They participated. We asked if they wanted to share, and they actually shared. That doesn't usually happen on the first day. Everybody's really nervous. So it was a nice couple of days so far. Are you clicking for me? Okay, that's okay. Is this working? No, not from here? Oh, you did? That's why. Yep, sorry. So I just put everyone's names in there so you could see their names in the board book. I appreciate that. Yeah. And, I want to highlight, we have one returning staff member, Lisa Hecker. They're coming back to the middle school. She used to work at Euclid. Her and her husband moved down south, St. Louis area for a job transfer, and she's back. So it's actually pretty cool that she'll be back working with us again at the middle school. So that's kind of neat. Oh, look at there. We have a new assistant superintendent for business services. And I know that you probably haven't had a chance to meet Alicia Ocampo, who replaced Tracy Hillman in the business office. So wanted you to get an image of, you'll be hearing her name, and I'm sure you've seen it already on documents, but Alicia has not left her desk, I think, since she started. So she's been working hard and picking up a lot and doing a great job. Fortunately, we had a couple of months of transition, so it was really needed. So just a couple of highlights for opening days. We shifted things, a couple of little shifts, but a lot of really good shifts, I believe. The new staff have 3 days. We were able to squeeze in a bus tour with Lynn Fisher, which was really nice just to get out and about in the community. Obviously looking at and seeing where your kids live and the neighborhoods that they reside in, but also being able to point out some really good places to eat and, places to run out in Randhurst and what's nearby if you want to go out and grab lunch or things like that. But today they had a couple of really great sessions with their mentors on technology and some curriculum. And then tomorrow they're going to spend the majority of their day with their mentor and just kind of learning about that partnership. And so that's a little bit of a shift. They have some extra time, whereas I feel like, we're rushing through a lot of information, human resources, your computer, your benefits. And so just to kind of spread that out is nice. I saw a few at the middle school yesterday afternoon. I asked if their head was going to explode, and they all said no. So that made me feel really good that we didn't overwhelm them quite too much on the first day. So we separated out our ESPs, and we'll be doing their onboarding, their new staff on Monday the 19th, which again I think is more creative. It's simple, but it's a creative way to meet their needs better. When you have so many different staff in one place, it's really hard sometimes to just make it meaningful for everyone. So we've separated them out. We know that those hires are traditionally a little bit later, so that gives us an extra week to get most people onboarded, and then we can have the majority of them there. So that will be next week. We have all staff week from tomorrow, and we've added an extra day there. I don't know if you remember, but we altered our calendar to include an in-service day, which will be great because we have a lot of mandated trainings from the state of Illinois. We try to do some articulation, usually during the first couple of weeks of school, to talk to teachers about students who need some extra support in their class. So this provides time without taking that away from plan time or taking that away from their teaching time. So we fit that in. And then also, many of you would probably remember our Innovation Symposium, which typically was that third day of new staff. And so we'd have first and second year teachers only for Innovation Symposium. But technology has really just gotten so important and so ingrained in curriculum. Like it is our gateway to our curriculum. And so we've infused that into our opening days for all staff. Our staff has been amazing at giving the presentations, like really good presentations that teachers really eat up, and it's beneficial for all. So we're excited to shift that into those opening days as well. And it's kind of a sign up. You get to choose what meets your needs. So staff like that. And so we're really excited to see how that goes. Next, we're getting ready to welcome families back. We started doing that back in July, just kind of prepping some of those families with the back to school guide on the webpage, making sure I've probably over communicated, but that's not really a thing. But I've always been worried about the first day of school because it's so much later. So really just trying to communicate those opening days and the important dates, open houses, things like that. Working on parent communication that will go out on Monday, a week before school, and just kind of highlight some of our district work and links where they could find some of that on the webpage, and then continuing to offer one-to-one meetings with parents and keeping my door open. I initially embarked on that my first year, thinking that I would only do it my first year, but I've done it every year, and I enjoy it. So it's nice meeting the new families and even the not new families who just want to come in and say hi. So open house dates, you have them. They're up there. I'll put them in my weekly update, but those are coming. And then our ribbon cutting invite has gone out. We're working on gathering some RSVPs for more of the community members, and we'll continue to send that. But gearing up for the first day. I'm excited to be back. I'm looking forward to a great year. I'm, excited to work with Mr. Kastner again. I think that we've had a really good run so far, and listening to talk about your presentation this fall, I think that's really great. I think that you probably don't get recognition for the work that you do, and I know that throughout the year that ebbs and flows, and sometimes flows more than it ebbs, but I think we've done a nice job of continuing to keep our communication door open, and we'll continue to do so. So I'm looking forward to another great year with you as well. And that's my report.
Thank you. One thing that I forgot to add, Jody and I had the opportunity to meet with our state rep, Tracy Katzmere, at the 214 office, and it was just a great opportunity for us. It was for board presidents and their superintendents. It wasn't highly populated with a lot of people, so we really had a lot of one-on-one time with her, and she really just wanted us to go around the room and talk about anything that we may be experiencing in our district before it comes down to her office or it gets down to Springfield. And one of the things I was talking about how the recognition we've gotten for Prairie Trails and invited her on a tour, but what sprung out of the comments that I made was to kind of ask ISB to really be a one-stop shop for grants. And we always hear about money that was available that went unused, or nobody knew about it. So what came out of that was for her to kind of ask them to kind of get a team together to really be a one-stop shop for us, and like Ryan could go to them for help and stuff. So don't know if that'll happen, but it was great to have her ear. We had a really nice time meeting with her, had a nice little photo op as well. Couldn't believe she gave out her cell phone. She's really accessible, so that's really nice to have somebody in Springfield watching our back and watching out for our interests. So sorry that I didn't bring that up earlier. I apologize. Next up is, our policy communication to the board. We did not have any emails to the board. None were received, so there's none that need to be returned. Future topics. We did talk about looking over the list of topics that IASB offers us for self-evaluation. Did anybody have any topics they wanted to discuss or bring up? I made some notes, but please feel free to talk about it while I look my notes up. Yeah,
So I have a quick question. Were we supposed to only go off of the ones that they had listed and suggested?
No, but I asked earlier if anybody had anything specific to talk about or bring up, or our own kind of workshop that we could make ourselves, and I didn't get any responses. So that was just the next logical place to look for options.
Right. Well, so I guess because I think that this is maybe was kind of the root at what we were getting at. I know that with everything going on, and we have had a whole lot of complicated subjects just happening within the district. I didn't quite understand what perspective or what approach they were to be using for that trust edge. But that seemed very interesting.
Janine, Bill and I also talked about setting up a meeting with Arlana. So if there are things that you guys want us to ask about or get some background, I also read that one, and it seemed interesting, but I didn't really know what it entailed. But we could certainly do that when we do a pre-meeting with her.
Okay, because I'm sorry, I should have sent a question prior to this. It just seemed like it sounds interesting, but I just would like to know how they approach it, if it's
it's
just, what the target is.
It sounds really.
The outcomes, what outcomes we would be looking for. So thank you. That looked really interesting.
Anybody else?
I will make the comment that since I've been on the board a very long time, I have participated in all of these a number of times. The only one I haven't is the Trust Edge experience. So
Okay.
I would be interested in that one too.
Yeah.
But all of these, starting right, the basics of governance, making meetings matter, board governance. Boy, I could give you I could do the session for you. So, yeah, if Arlana can come up with something else, because we have gone over the basics of governance and making meetings matter in board governance review over and over and over. So, yeah, I would like to see something new.
It is kind of interesting how a lot of those offerings are very geared towards the kind of mechanics of governance versus the kind of intricacies of it and the team building aspect and the communication component amongst the board members. So I love the name Trust Edge.
Sure.
Those are things I'd like, trust and edge, or we all want more of. But yeah, I don't know what the heck it is either.
Yeah, that one was on my list, as was the equity one. It's probably not enough to learn, always more to learn there. I mean, I think they offer those basic ones for a reason. That
Sure.
boards, not saying we're an advanced board.
And they
but,
usually offer them at III as well.
yeah, but I think that
Yeah.
we've done them recently, so.
Kim, any thoughts?
No, I was interested in the trust edge as well, but was not really clear on.
All right, well, we can look into the Trust Edge and then try to find a date that she's available. So just keep an eye on your emails. We'll probably have to get a quick response. Her calendar tends to fill up fast.
She did give me 1st or the 8th of October earlier, so I don't
Okay.
know if any of those are.
It said first, 8th is a board meeting.
We could go before, an hour before, if we wanted.
All right, the other thing we have for pending topics is the III Conference on November 21st through the 4th downtown. Does anybody have any items for future consideration? Hearing none, we'll move on to adjournment. We have nothing for closed session, so there won't be a closed session tonight. So let me entertain a motion in a second to adjourn our meeting at 7:57 p.m.
Motion?
Second.
Moved by Bianchini, second by Pfister. Please call roll.
Grimpy,
Yes.
Pfister,
Yes.
Ronstadt,
Yes.
for Bianchini,
Yes.
Friedland,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion carries.
All right, we are adjourned. Next meeting is on September 10th, 2024.